Welcome to the Your World Within podcast. I'm Eddie Pinero. And on today's episode, I sit down with Dr. Bill Dorfman, who's a cosmetic dentist. He's worked with plenty of household names that we've all heard of, from Katy Perry to Usher to Anthony Hopkins, Fergie, Hugh Jackman. The list sort of goes on and on and on. But what I found incredibly interesting, right, after spending decades to get himself established as the 1% of his craft, continued to expand out and was on the Extreme Makeover on TV. He's on the Emmy awarded daytime talk show, The Doctors. He's done a lot in the entrepreneurial space, a very successful company, Discus Dental. So he's just done quite a bit. And I feel like that level of tenacity and ambition should be explored. And it's why I was so excited to have him on today. And got a lot of value from it. I hope you do as well. But before I jump into the episode, I just want to note, if you're listening to this via podcast, and you enjoy it, if you take things from these episodes and find value in them, a 5-star review and subscribing on Apple Podcasts truly helps. It helps me get this content into more ears of people that would appreciate them as well. So I would be totally grateful for that. And that's all I have. So without further ado, here's the episode. One of the first things and most apparent things about you is sort of the breadth of what you've done. I think it's amazing. Cosmetic dentist, but you've built companies, you've written books, you've been on TV. And my question is, you could have stopped at a lot of different points along the way in your journey. What is it that makes you tick and keeps pushing you to evolve?
I love the challenge, especially when you tell me I can't do something. That is one of the most motivating things ever. I mean, my parents always used to joke and say, for me, no was the beginning of the conversation. You know what I mean? Throughout my life, people have always told me, you can't, you can't, you can't. And I always look at them and go, oh, yes, I can. And, I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but I never fail, Eddie. Ever fail. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. If I do something and it doesn't come out the way I want it to, that's not failure. It's practice. And I'll do it again and again and again and again and again if I have to. You only fail when you quit. And I'm not a quitter. So if you never quit, you never fail.
I love it.
So I'm going to give this to all your listeners. You guys stop failing in life. If you feel like you failed, just reframe that and say, you know what? That was practice. And then you do it again and again and again and again. But don't forget, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And there's a big difference. If you keep doing it the wrong way, yeah, you're going to get really good at doing it the wrong way. Find a mentor. Find somebody who can help you. Go online, go on the internet, and do it differently. But don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again wrong and expect to get it right. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful perspective. One of my favorite quotes is from Ryan Holiday. Is like, confidence is earned, and it's you have to your point, like you have to fail and you have to realize that it doesn't define you. And so for you on your journey, was that something that you sort of learned to trust yourself, like you learned to be brave and learn to realize that, hey, I can reshape this and put these pieces together again and again and again? Or was it like one event where you're like, oh my God, I got this. This is me. Let's go.
I'm going to tell you my favorite quote about confidence. Confidence is currency. And probably the greatest gift my parents ever gave me. We grew up poor. Like, I didn't get cars. I have paid for everything in my life, my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that my parents ironically ever paid for was for me to go to the dentist when I was a kid, for the doctor. But other than that, I wanted a shirt. I bought it. I started working at 5. I was pulling weeds in the neighborhood. I wanted pants. I wanted Levi jeans because that was cool. I bought my jeans.
Yeah.
I bought my bike. I bought my car. I paid for college. I mean, and it wasn't like my parents wouldn't. They couldn't. I mean, we had 5 kids and no money. So, I started working at a really, really early age, and I realized if I worked hard enough, I could get whatever I wanted. I just had to keep working for it. And so I did. And, I think the confidence thing is just something that my parents just really blessed me with. They always encouraged me and said, you can do what you want to do. I was a weird kid, though, I'll tell you. I was never a kid. I was always like a grown up in a little kid's body. I was 5 years old. I go to kindergarten. I come home, and my parents are like, "Oh, Billy, how was school?" I'm like, school is okay, but the kids are so immature in my class. Like, who says that at 5? I was
Yeah.
weird. And then at 6, I came home and I told my parents I wanted to have a conference with them. They're like,
You're
a
really ahead of
conference?
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sat them down and I said, listen, I don't think I need to go to school anymore. They said, really? I said, yeah, I know how to read. So I'll just read everything I need to know. They're like, yeah, no, you're going to go to school. And here's the crazy thing. I was like, okay. Like, I even asked my parents this recently. I'm 62 now. I said, did I ever do anything like bad as a kid? Like, I don't ever remember. I never got spanked. I don't ever remember like actually being punished or being like getting in trouble. Maybe I have a really weird selective memory. I said, do you ever remember me like doing anything bad or getting in trouble for anything? They're like, no. I was just like this easygoing kid. I always did what I was supposed to do. I always got good grades. I was like auto child. Like, boom, here's your kid, and I just took care of myself. I made my own money. I bought my own stuff. I remember when I got into UCLA, I got the acceptance letter. I told my parents, they're like, oh, wow, that's so sweet, sweetie. When did you apply? Like, they had no idea. Like, I feel like when my kids got into college, I should have got accepted with them. I wrote more of their essays than they did.
Yeah. That's so funny. So like, was that sort of linear trajectory, playing within the bounds, something that you moved out of? And it's just contextually, like I talk about that a lot in my own personal journey, in the sense of I got good grades to go to a good school, to get a good job. And then at one point I looked around and I was like, I'm playing within the boundaries too tight here. And I need to, it was almost like a light bulb going off. And I realized that I could expand beyond that. And you have, again, like your resume, what you've accomplished is so diverse and so cool that I almost wonder if like you had a similar moment where you're like, I can push things a little bit here. You know what I mean?
You know what? I honestly feel like it's innate. And I'll tell you when I had this huge epiphany. So when you're on TV and you do a talk show like Ellen or Rosie or The Tonight Show or any of these shows, they take you and they put you in a little room with a producer, and that producer will interview you for an hour. And then it's like a shotgun. I mean, they're asking you all kinds of weird stuff. just kind of seeing what's going to stick. Then when you go out on stage, when you tape, like when I'm on my show, The Doctors, it's called live to tape. So they film it so it looks live, but they're taping it, right? But they're not cutting. And I mean, it's basically you go out, you do a 6-minute or a 12-minute segment, whatever it is. It's shot all in one block. So pretty much every talk show you do, that's the format, except Oprah. Oprah has such an expansive research team that she knows more about you than you ever think she does.
She's like Google.
And they don't tell you what she's going to ask you. You're just basically like, she wants like shock response. You know, she wants unfiltered, like, and I'll never forget, I'm talking to Oprah and Oprah says, Dr. Bill, you've had a career unlike any other dentist in history. Like, you're a New York Times bestselling author. You've been on 2 primetime TV shows. You started a company from zero and grew it to $1.3 billion. You donated over, at the time, $20 million to charity. And she's going on and on. She goes, what inspired you to think so far outside the box? Now, this was in 2006. I had never heard that phrase, think outside the box. And I looked at Oprah and I just said 2 words and we cracked up. What box? And I mean, basically, that is an explanation for my entire life. I mean, I never, ever saw boxes.
That's
ever.
Amazing. That's
like
amazing.
Ever, you know, and I talk, you know, I teach this program called Lead, which we'll get to in a little bit, but I talk to young kids and they're like, they're so afraid of failure. You know, they don't want to try this because they'll fail. I'm like, dude, you never have to fail.
Yeah.
You know, and like in my life, I literally have never even thought of failure. Like what is failure? Like I didn't even know it existed. That wasn't even one of the options. It's like, I want to build a company. Bam, I built a company. I have no money. I have no resources. I have no investors. I built a company from zero with my best friend to $1.3 billion in sales.
That's so beautiful. It's like innate for you. So, and it's one of the questions I get the most. So how, I guess if you could, I don't know, if you could articulate it for someone that's saying like, I struggle, like, cause a lot of people do see in boxes. Like myself, I always say like, there's like 2 things that I feel like you need to understand your authentic self. And then it helps to understand and learn from people that have done it before you. Right. And so every time in my life I get pulled off course, it's because I'm looking at the shiny object and the guy that's saying this worked, do this was successful. You guys got, and I'm like, okay. And I veer and I lose what makes me unique and makes me powerful. Based on what you're saying, it sounds like you haven't had to struggle with that, which is an amazing thing. How would you best serve that up to someone who does, or someone that does sort of chase that metaphorical shiny object?
Copy genius. It's one of the key points that we teach at Leap, copy genius. Look, when I came to LA as a cosmetic dentist, do you think they needed another cosmetic dentist in Beverly Hills?
I'm guessing they weren't begging for one, right?
No. So what I did, and this is not because anybody told me to do this. I just thought this makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling you, so go do it. Okay. I found the 5 most successful cosmetic dentists in LA. I called each of their offices. I introduced myself and said, I just graduated dental school. I'm completely and totally enamored with your practice and your success. Can I come shadow you? Shadowing wasn't even a thing back in 1986. Like, right? We didn't even call it shadowing. Can I come? I don't remember what I say, observe you, whatever. And I did it. And in all 5 offices, I got the exact same response. First of all, it was incredibly rare. This was not something that people did normally.
Yeah.
But when I did, every single one of the offices commented, and I'll tell you why. When I have dentists, and I probably have had thousands come in and shadow me in my office, they all come, they show up, they sit with me in the room, they watch me work, they thank me, and they leave. That's not what I did. I showed up 10 minutes before. I wanted to see how patients came into the office. I asked for a copy of all the paperwork that the patients signed so I could see what the patients were doing. I listened to the front office explain to the patient where to go, what to do, what was happening. I watched them bring the patient into the treatment room. I watched how they set up the room. I watched how they explained the treatment to the patient. I watched how the financial person came in and went through the terms. I watched everything from start to finish until they literally excused the patient and scheduled the next visit. And I did this in 5 practices. Net result, after about a year in practice, I had a busier practice than any dentist in Beverly Hills. Because I took the genius from all 5 of those and put it in one practice, and I beat them. I did it better than they did. I learned customer service from the best. When you came into my office, my goal was not to meet your expectations. My goal was to exceed your expectations so you would go out and tell all your friends, hey, I found this awesome dentist. And it worked. And it continues to work.
What do you think the gap is today? Like people coming in, like I'm sure some of them are enthusiastic. Do you think there's just a lack of understanding of what it takes, or do you think where's the boundary?
I think that the problem is the mindset. I think that people want to figure out how to work less, how to make, like that was never even an option for me. When you work less,
Right,
if I'm awake, I can work. I worked harder than anybody I know. When I was filming ABC's Extreme Makeover, I was working 60 hours a week as a dentist, and then coming in on Saturday and Sunday filming 14-hour days, both days.
It's enough to kill a man.
Yeah, but you know what? I had a goal.
Yeah.
And, that's a whole story, Extreme Makeover. But my goal, when I sold Discus Dental, my company, I invented Zoom. For real.
What do you mean?
I invented Zoom.
You invented Zoom?
Yeah, tooth whitener. Not video conference.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I invented Zoom, Night White, Day White, Bright Smile. When kids come to my LEAP program, I do this whole thing we call the 10 culture. In fact, I give kids little pop sockets for their phone. And, I tell them, I said, look, when you woke up this morning, whether you think you did this or not, you put a number on your head. 1's the lowest, 10's the highest. How many of you didn't put a 10 on your head this morning? They raised their hand. I'm like, who picked the number? You. Why would you pick anything less than a 10? You didn't have to take a test. You didn't have to do anything. You just wake up. I said, wipe it off and say, I'm a 10. Wake up every morning and say, I'm a 10. Act like a 10, walk like a 10, talk like a 10. But most importantly, surround yourself with other kids that are 10s. Because if you're trying to be a 10 and all your friends are 2s, I have news for you. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Ironically, we sold Discus Dental on 10, 10, 10 at 10 a.m. The merger documents came in at 9 in the morning, and I thought, this is too good to be true. I have to wait till 10. Now, I could have waited till 10.
Just to complete this cycle, huh?
Yeah. But that was a perfect 10-day. And look, I always knew as a dentist I'd make a good living.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I never thought that discus would do what it did. And it was beautiful. And, it was an amazing day for me. And, I went into work the next day and I had an all hands on deck meeting. I wanted to explain to my office, what had happened. And I said, here are my new hours. And I cut back to exactly 25 hours a week. And they're like, you don't have cancer, do you? I'm like, no, I'm fine. They're like, but we thought you were a workaholic. I'm like, yeah, not by desire. Like, I had stuff to do, I had people to support. I had things. I said, but now that I've done this, I want to be able to look at my mantra is learn so you can earn and then return. I said, I can now do what I really want to do and just give back and dedicate most of my time to that. I don't have to keep earning. I'm good now. Yeah. And so that was a real epiphany and change in my life, and a beautiful one. Believe me, I wake up the most grateful person you'll ever meet in your life every single day. And, my LEAP program is a nonprofit that I set up 14 years ago, where we bring in amazing speakers: Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, Paula Abdul, Kathy Bates, Eva Longoria, Usher, Seth Green, on and on and on and on. And we basically teach kids skills to be successful in life. And if you or any of your listeners know or are, between 15 and 25, we've done the program at UCLA every year. Last year, obviously, 2020, we had to do the entire program virtually. This year, we did a hybrid program where we had 50 kids live and about 500 virtual. But in 2022, we will go back to the full live program, unless something else comes on this earth that we don't know about. But we're planning to do the full program again. So if anybody wants information, they can go to www.leapfoundation.com and sign up for the program. But we'll always have a hybrid from now on. It will always be virtual and live.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw some of the clips. You've put a handful on Instagram, and there's really cool. There's really important pieces of information, some great nuggets from you. I saw Mark Wahlberg was on there, and I saw some Anthony Hopkins dialogue. I imagine you've learned a lot hanging out with those guys.
Yeah, and I put them all on my podcast. So you see that little microphone behind me that I put up right before we started?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about it.
Meet the Mentor.
All right.
So my podcast is ranked in the top 2% of all podcasts worldwide. And that award I got during LEAP, so that was 2 weeks ago, for being in the top 100 podcasts in over 100 countries. I'm actually now in 125 countries. I'm number 1 in Yemen, number 2 in Iceland, and number 3 in Finland. I don't even know why. It's crazy. I think the thing, because we had interviewed all these amazing people for LEAP, we led with that. So I think I'm kind of the only person that has all these, like Michael Strahan and our mayor, Eric Garcetti. I have a lot of amazing people, and they spill the beans, man. They tell everything. So it's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. How have you found the format, right? Because I know, obviously going from TV shows and sort of behind the camera to the podcasting audio long form, format, it's probably an evolution. Have you enjoyed it? What have your thoughts
Yeah. So I'll tell you something funny. You know, when kids come to Leap,
been?
if I can only get them to walk away with two things, here are the two things. Number one, don't wait for opportunities in life, make them. Okay. If I meet another millennial who tells me they're waiting for the universe to do something, I want to bang my head against the wall. Like, have you noticed the universe is kind of busy right now? We've got a pandemic going on, right? Number two, when you get a great opportunity in life, don't take it, master it.
Mm.
Big difference.
Do you think that's something that I'm very interested in for you? One of the first personal development books I read was Gary Keller's The One Thing, and he talks about, there's some nuance there, but obviously the point is find your one thing and master it. And what was your mentality? Because your mastery in cosmetic dentistry has opened a ton of doors, right? That maybe if you weren't one of the best in the world at that, wouldn't have opened. So how do you see that as sort of the crux of everything, or the hub of of your universe?
Like I said, learn so you can earn and then return. So cosmetic dentistry. I joined the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. I was the youngest member ever to become accredited and then fellowed in that. That's
awesome. Yeah.
ABC puts me on Extreme Makeover. Honestly, I stunk. I was horrid. I was so
just
bad.
The way you felt on camera, is that what you mean? Or?
If you watch the first two episodes, have you heard the phrase "a deer in headlights"?
Sure.
What did I know from TV? Like, I mean, I could do the dentistry, but man, you've got like a whole room of people there with lights and camera.
New arena.
And I literally stunk. I was so bad. But at least, Eddie, I was smart enough to know how bad I was. So instead of waiting for them to fire me, I was proactive. I signed up immediately. I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. You think this all happens by accident? No. I hired the woman who worked with all the kids on American Idol. And I had her grill me and grill me and grill me and teach me how to interview, And so by the third, fourth, fifth episode, I started actually directing my episodes. I saved ABC millions of dollars. You know why? If they did a breast augmentation, they would go in Dr. Fisher's office with all 20 of and it was like a 10-hour thing. When I worked, I had 3 rooms set up. I was doing 3 patients at a time. I bought 3 changes of clothes. I would go in, I would do the first part, I would start, then I have my partner help finish doing, some of the dentistry. Then I do that. So I'm working on 3 patients simultaneously with the same crew. I could get 3 times as much done as anybody else. And I was producing. I was interviewing I didn't even need a producer there. I was doing the whole thing, but I just worked and worked and worked and worked until I could do it.
Yeah. So Dr. Bill, I think that right there is one of the most important things, and it's misconstrued a lot. The idea that we can take control, right? Because in that situation, I think our tendency is to blame the situation, right? Like it would have been really easy for you to be like, I'm a dentist. Like it's okay to suck at this. This is not my thing, whatever. This is the reason but like, you took control and completely changed the dynamic of things. And
but you know what? The part you don't know,
hit me.
The part you don't know that makes this even sweeter, Eddie.
What's that? So
we shot the pilot, right? And we got ratings off the chart. And for the pilot, I did Zoom whitening on 3 patients. That's it. ABC had no idea where the show Extreme Makeover was going to go. But anyhow, I did Zoom whitening. They called me up. They said, Doc, how much do you want to be paid? I'm like, I own the company. Like, you don't have to pay me. It's good promo, right? Now, this is the birth of reality TV, okay? We get picked up for 22 episodes our first season. My first patient needed 20 veneers, 10 uppers, 10 lowers. It was like $30,000. And ABC freaked out. They're like, Doc, we had no idea it was this expensive. I goes, well, it is. I said, well, what do you want me to do? They said, can you do 3 veneers? I'm like, what, like every other 2? Like, no, she needs 20.
Staple them out together,
And I always tell kids at LEAP, there will be life-defining moments. Sometimes you plan them, sometimes they just happen, but these are things that will change the trajectory of your life forever. And right then and there, I had one. I said, listen, I'll make a deal with you. Now, you have to understand, every single person on that show got paid. The hairstylist, the makeup artist, the weight trainers, the plastic surgeons, everybody got paid but me. And what I said was this: I'll do all the dentistry for free under the following conditions. Number 1, I'm the only dentist. I didn't want a bunch of dentists on there. I wanted to do all the dentistry. I wanted to control it. I wanted to make sure the patients got treated well. And I didn't want them to bring some hack on and then have people think that maybe I did that one. You know what I mean? So they said, fine. So number 2, you need to give my lab credit, because I didn't want to do this for free and then have a $20,000 lab bill.
Right.
I said, fine. Number 3, this is the one that changed my life. You need to highlight Zoom in every episode. They said, fine. That would never happen on reality TV today. Never, ever, ever could a doctor or a participant shamelessly promote their own product on national TV. You have to understand, we were on prime time ABC TV at night.
Yeah.
And they signed a contract with me. Well, net result, Discus Dental starts off, we did 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, 6, and we grew and we kind of plateaued at like 76 million. We just couldn't break that. My first year on ABC's Extreme Makeover, we did 101 million. The second year, we did 136 million. And my third year on the show, we did nearly $200 million in sales as a result of my exposure.
Yeah.
Patients literally walked into their dental offices and said, I want to be Zoomed. It was music to my ears.
That's beautiful. And it's foresight too, right? I mean, because do you think maybe other people in that situation would have asked for a chunk of money instead and not had the foresight to say, keep it?
I went out on a limb. It was a gut feeling. I thought, this is the first time dentistry's ever on primetime TV. This is the first time dentistry isn't a joke. I mean, we weren't like Little Shop of Horrors or Marathon Man or I mean, this is like serious. And I thought, it can't hurt. And the saying, a rising tide rises all ships. It didn't just help my practice. I would be walking in airports and dentists who recognized me from TV would come up and shake my hand and said, thank you for what you've done for our profession. Thank you for what you've done for dentistry. I mean, it was crazy. I got notes, love letters from little kids like, I love your show and I want to be a cosmetic dentist one day. I mean, it was awesome. That never happened before.
That's such an important theme. Like, look at the big picture. You miss that opportunity, So I guess we talked a little bit about the big picture, the philosophical. What about, I know on your Instagram, you're very, very fitness focused and talk about the it's not just the physicality, but also being mentally sharp as well. What are maybe at the micro level? Like, what are some things you do to stay consistent and stay focused that other people can learn from and implement into their lives?
Fitness has always been a huge part of my life. I learned very early on that dentistry is a very, very physically demanding job. And if people, I graduated in 1983. 80% of my class is not practicing dentistry anymore, not by choice, because of physical problems, back, neck, eyes, this. So in dental school, I started exercising a lot because I wasn't feeling good, and it's really paid off. I mean, I'm 62 years old and I just did a huge layout for GQ magazine on fitness. I think I'm the oldest shirtless guy they ever put in there.
Congrats.
But and my goal is the cover of Men's Health, and I'm pretty close. I have a meeting with them today, so that's my end all be all. Like, if I could get on the cover of Men's Health at 62, because I go to the gym with guys who are in their 20s and 30s, and I run circles around them, and I'm not saying it like, but I inspire them. They're like, okay, if you can do that at 62 and I can't at 25, like, I need to
wake up call. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm a good motivator for people. Plus, I think the big selling point with Men's Health is this: I'm a real guy. Like, I have a job, I go to work, I do dentistry. I don't live in a gym. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm a professional dentist. So if I can do this, so can you. That was one of the things I was going to say earlier on, when people are like freaked out, like, oh, I don't know. I hope my cousin isn't watching this, but I have a cousin who's just dumb.
I hope he's not watching it either.
Yeah, he just is. He makes dumb choices in his life, like really, really bad, dumb choices. Like, he ended up in jail and he ended up in jail, like, dumb, like, dude. And there were a few shiny moments in his life, like, and I would look at those and say, okay, if he could do that, and I know he's dumb, I can do it,
Right,
and
right.
I think that I kind of use that in so many situations in life where I would say, okay, I mean, take out the dumb factor, but I'll be like, okay, if he or she can do that, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people really need to think about, is that if you're having a problem with something, you're probably not the first person that had that problem. What's the solution? I mean, you don't have to invent it. Go find it.
Yeah.
Nothing is pretty much nothing is new in life.
I was going to say, like, it's funny how seeing something done, like, makes you understand that it can be accomplished. There's a sense of calm. There's a sense of confidence just by seeing someone else do it. And so it's like, if there's something that you want to achieve, like, to your point, and I heard you say this on your talk on the stage on Leap, it's like research. You mentioned Google a lot. Everything's out there for you to find and utilize as a tool in your life.
The most powerful 3-letter word in our language, ASK, ask.
Yeah.
And I don't get why people don't ask. And by the way, I'm probably the only person on Instagram with like 1.3 or 1.4 million people who actually reads all my DMs and answers them. If you have a question for me, ask me. I promise you it's me. It's not a bot. It's literally me. If you go to Dr. Bill Dorfman and ask me a question, you can reach me directly. That's actually me.
That's awesome that you make the time to do that. Really cool. Well, one of the last things I wanted to mention, I'd be remiss not to bring it up. So I love Anthony Hopkins. I think he's such a sharp guy. And you were having a conversation with him, and one of the points he makes, and Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. A lot of the folks I read and I look up to talk about this, that life is both incredibly difficult, but also such a beautiful thing. And, he says to get to the root of yourself, to know your worth, and understand that you have the ability to make an impact in a world that is that can be challenging. And so I think one, it's really cool and refreshing to see that you have done that. And two, I would want to ask you, based on that information, like, how do you think someone can unlock that within themselves to be what they're capable of being? That was a loaded question, but
we all have gifts. It's funny. I took piano lessons for 10 years. And one day my piano teacher said, I'd like to have a talk with you and your parents. And so we sat down. I was used to getting like glowing reports from teachers and stuff. She said, listen, you're raising a lovely young man. This is not his calling.
Not a pianist. Yeah.
She goes, I feel like I'm taking your money and stealing from you every time I come. So this will be our last piano lesson. I got fired from my piano teacher, right? And she's right. I wasn't great at piano, but here's the flip side. I never took an art class in my life. I can draw anything. I can paint anything. I can sculpt anything. Like I just did, like I was a little kid, I would sit in class and I would sketch the trees. I would sketch you. I would sketch the teacher. My teacher would be like, where'd you get this? I'm like, what do you mean get it? I just did it. It's not like they'd be like, really? Like, I don't know. That connection. I could see, I could copy. I could see, I could copy. That was something that was, so I think, if you can see where, what comes easily and naturally to you, and then really just kind of grow that, scale that, that's the greatest thing in the world. I'm not a big believer in like voodoo or hocus pocus but I walked into a palm reader once with a friend who was really depressed. And I said, get your palm read, maybe it'll help you. And I paid the money. And then he was like, I'm so depressed, it's gonna be bad. So I couldn't take the money back from her, right? I mean, so I'm like, okay, read mine. And she looks in my hand and she says, you heal people. That's the first thing she said. I'm like, she goes, you're never gonna have to worry about money or health. She goes, you heal people. Like, and I know this woman had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
But I guess, for me, if you leave this world without making it a better place for people, shame on you. I mean, I don't care if the best thing you could give people is just a warm, friendly smile. Hey, how are you? That's already giving something. You don't have to give millions of dollars. You don't have to build a wing in a hospital. My religion is super simple. Just be kind. 3 words. And everybody's included. It doesn't matter. There's no denominations. There's no nothing. It's super easy, And I think, at the very least, just be kind, be nice to people and make the world better, And if you're fortunate enough to have some skill that you can monetize in a way that gives you a comfortable life, that's great too. And if you don't know what that is, guess what? Ask. Because there's people out there that help you find that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Kindness goes a long way. And I love that message. Reach out. The answers you need are out there. You just have to be aware and reach out for them. So this was a very, very valuable conversation. I appreciate your time. And before we depart, I just wanted to see maybe what's come, other than that men's health cover that I know is coming, what's coming down the pike for Dr. Bill, and where can people find you?
Well, the easiest way to reach me again is on Instagram. It's Dr. Dr. Bill, B-I-L-L-D. No, sorry, Dr. Bill Dorfman. I just gave you my email. So yeah, Dr. Bill Dorfman. I promise I answer. What's coming down the pipeline? I have 2 cool products I'm launching this year. I haven't launched a new dental product in a long time. The first one's called Poof. You should start seeing it everywhere in about 3 months. It's a take-home tooth whitening product, kind of like Crest White strips, but the strips disappear. They melt in your mouth. And so the strips disappear, the stains disappear, poof, your teeth are white. So look out for Poof. It's P-O-O-O-F. And we're doing that in conjunction with a very, very large marketing company. So you should see it everywhere. And the second one is I have a new gum coming out. In the past, all the gums that I've done are like for fresh breath and decay and blah, blah, blah. This one's totally different. I hate coffee. I love caffeine, especially like as a pre-workout, but like to drink a Red Bull and then go work out just doesn't feel that good. Those little energy shots. So I made a caffeinated chewing gum, and it's got just as much caffeine as one of those like 5-hour energy shot things, right? So you chew this gum, and like in 10 minutes, you feel a buzz, like you can conquer the world. So the product name that I trademarked, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I know you're going to love it, eh? Right?
What you got?
Buzz balls.
Buzz ball. All right. All right. It's very difficult to forget that name. That will be in my head probably forever. So. You're
going to love them. So as soon as we just finished like the final prototypes on them. So as soon as we get them out, send me a text message with your home address, and I'll mail you some buzz balls.
Oh, exciting. Looking forward to it. Cool. Well, we'll be looking out, and thanks again for your time, energy, and just sharing your talents with the world, my friend. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.